All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. We are here. We are live on YouTube and X and Facebook this morning. And hi, Antonio. How are you?
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, what a show. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
absolutely.
We have for you, we have treat. We are going to be going through all kinds of stuff today. We will be going through clips and um, we have articles. We're going to start. We have a method to our current events. We'll start with the whole Epstein crap, and we're going to go on. Well, it's not crap. I mean, serious stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Yeah.
go on to. We'll end up with the endangerment finding. We'll end up with some websites to show you and all that. So, what's going on?
Yeah, it has been an absolutely incredible. Well, that is the thing about the Trump administration is that it is a administration of classic. Yes, I was about to go back to the middle of the last century. It is a classic administration of authoritarianism, perpetuating crises after crises after crises. So whether you're not, you are watching the Justice Department's Religious and Liberty Commission, which was an absolutely horrible thing to see just earlier this week, where the commissioners were debating the responsibility of the Jews for killing Jesus, and things of that nature, or if you're watching the Pam Bonding hearings in Congress, which were
Ugh.
absolutely incredible, to say the least, or watching the Trump administration do away with regulating carbon dioxide greenhouse gas altogether in the United States. It's absolutely been a very difficult time. Like I say, crises after crises. So yeah,
Crises after crises, and they're beginning to rationalize and accept
yeah.
that Trump raped minors. Yep.
On the back of these Epstein files, which are so conclusive in terms of the sort of upper echelons culture that dominates in the United States, and around the world. Unfortunately, this is an Epstein class, as Rokana has put it.
Oh yes,
And
the Trump Epstein class. It is the
yeah, and I
Trump
was going to
Epstein
say,
class.
and President Trump is, if I can steal a phrase, cankles deep in
Yeah.
the Epstein files.
Oh yeah.
And it's really terrible. So without any further ado, we can start getting into today's
All
show.
right, we've got it. We've got it. I this is one of my favorite. Trying to understand the behavior of some people is like trying to smell the color nine. I mean, it's just insanity. It really is. It's insanity. Well, let's change because we're going to start today. We have lots of clips, and we're going to talk about each clip as we go. And because I learned a new couple of new tricks on my software after what 6 years, I finally figured out some things. So what we're going to start, and this was the one that we talked about. They are already beginning to rationalize and accept that Trump raped minors. Trump is a womanizer, but he's no rapist, much less into pedophilia. You know, Trump, our savior. They're going to try to rationalize what they see in front of their eyes. You know, they're going to rationalize it, these people, and it's really sad. And you know, I'm giving all of you, by the way, I'm looking at the chat. You're all getting a shout out, but we have a lot to get into. So, one of the first things we're going to play is I'm going to play Alan Dershowitz. Okay.
Yeah,
Now, I cannot stand Alan Dershowitz.
neither can I.
And he had a post on, I'm trolling him on X. He had a
Yeah,
post about how the people in Martha's Vineyard don't like him anymore. They've canceled him. They used to love his books. They've canceled him. Well, I wrote to him, well, I have news for you, buddy. I went to Martha's Vineyard practically my whole life because my stepfather and mom bought a house there in the 80s, and like all of our honeymoons and all that. And hey, listen, I was very blessed to be able to do that. Nobody liked Alan Dershowitz. Nobody did. My parents couldn't stand him. They didn't even go in the same circles, of course, because they were not elitists. They just happened to buy an $80,000 house in like, the early 80s there and be able to get there. But by virtue of that fact, we got there. So I had to troll him and say, nobody liked you, you asshole. And I mean, I will troll him. He makes me
Well, let
sick.
me give you an example. 10 minutes before you went on, the predecessor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile.
Okay. What is that? It's not pedophile, it's
This
Well,
underage.
let
is
me give you
this
an
is
example.
It's
something
10,
that, and
yeah.
just a little background on Alan Dershowitz. He's a
Yeah.
Harvard trained lawyer.
Mhm.
He also played a small role in the L.J. Simpson trial back in
Yes.
the day.
I remember.
Um, yes, I've been following Alan Dershowitz for the entirety of my adult life.
Wow.
Not directly, but because he likes to challenge a lot of credible academics on serious issues, which I don't think he should be having his nose in any at all.
Oh,
Or at least he should acknowledge that he's just a sideline observer, but he really tries to take these more expert roles. But this is one of the shock and awe sort of tactics that Mr. Alan Dershowitz traffics in. And notice how he likes to go right on up against the fence without ever really crossing it. Yes, because you can argue legally, in certain jurisdictions, what have you, about ages of consents or something like that. Never minding the fact that at the time, these are 40, 50 plus age-year-old men who are trying to have intimate relationship
mhm.
with young girls. I
I
mean,
know this. I have
this
been a
is
victim.
horrendous.
I've
Yeah.
been a victim. Okay. I talked about it on another show, and I was a victim, and the guy was 35 and I was I don't know, 14,
Oh wow.
15. Oh yeah. I have stories. My life was never easy. I'm not I don't live it. I've worked out through all my trauma, but it wasn't just me. He went through after I told my other girlfriends, "Don't go over to him." We called him the community F. Honest to God, we called him the community
Wow.
F. And two of my girlfriends then did it, and we didn't, at the time we didn't realize we were victims. We were victims. This guy preyed on my group of friends, and we were stupid because we thought, okay, we'll go over and smoke some pot or whatever, and that's what happened. That's one of the first things I could talk about. But I mean, as a victim, this whole thing has triggered me, but yet I don't live a victim mentality, of course. I mean, this is a long time ago, and all these things taught me
But
a
it's
lot.
not about victim mentality, Sandy, if you would excuse me, because I know this is a very sensitive topic for many people in the United States, very young children. And it's not just a topic of politics, right? How many times have we heard that church institutions have been widespread engaged in the abuse of children? And how many times that becomes political and church officials are protected, children are shamed, children are disbelieved. So we see this cycle not just with political figures, but also in other communities as well. And what's really sad here, I think, is Alan Dershowitz using his titles, using his authority, the fact
Hmm.
that he's a Harvard trained lawyer, the fact that he's set on special commissions and did really high profile cases. And he's willing to use that reputation here as a sort of weapon to legitimize what would otherwise be quite illegitimate behavior.
Quite, quite. But what we're going to look at next is really nauseating. This is really nauseating.
Right now, most of us feel discomfort when we think about this scenario. And most of us feel discomfort when we think about pedophiles. But just like pedophiles, we are not responsible for our feelings. We do not choose them, but we are responsible for our actions. And we must make a decision. It is in our responsibility to reflect and to overcome our negative feelings about pedophiles and to treat them with the same respect we treat other people
Are you
with.
fucking kidding?
We should accept that pedophiles are people who have not chosen their sexuality and who, unlike most of us, will never be able to live it out freely if they want to lead an upright life. We should accept that pedophilia is a sexual preference, a thought, a feeling, and not an act. We should differentiate between child sexual abuse and pedophilia.
Wow.
We shouldn't increase the suffering of pedophiles by excluding them, by blaming and mocking them. By doing that, we increase their isolation and we increase the chance of child sexual abuse.
Are you kidding me? I mean, really, seriously, are you kidding me? So let's talk about that. What do you think about that one?
Well, and that was in the context of a TED Talk, just so our audience can get the broader view there. That wasn't just happening at some, fancy meeting in Davos.
Uh-uh.
So that was a very interesting, those comments. And I think it's important for the audience to know that because the people in the Epstein files were very powerful and they were multinational, right? That these were people from different societies around the world, that they have a lot of influence and sway over the public. And there's an attempt here, as Alan Dershowitz was trying to do, is normalize, again, what would be considered quite grotesque behavior. Now, that is to differentiate the, psychological condition that someone might have an attraction to children. If someone has an attraction to children, we can identify that psychologically and say that person needs help and they need to seek that help, and that help needs to be provided for them. But normalizing any sort of that attraction in itself, I think, is quite adverse and dangerous for the society. And also, I think ultimately this is more about the protection of power than it is really trying to grapple with what may be a real psychological effect here. In the Epstein files, I don't think that this is people who have a psychological condition. I think these are criminals who have gone well beyond the bounds of law. And because the entirety of their life they have operated without the law in every sector of their lives, they continue to do so unabated. And these are people who want to be 20 years old forever. They have billions, hundreds of millions of dollars, so much drug money, access, power, and fame at their disposal that they're able to engage in these horrendous and heinous acts. And notice who they're abusing. This isn't just about someone might have a psychological condition. These women were preyed after. They targeted women, or excuse me, these young girls, these young girls who were lower class, who oftentimes came from broken or weakened family structures. This is not at all about maybe a few outlier adults had a psychological, no. I think that in itself is a misdirection. And so I don't think it's a surprise to see that even in what we used to consider pretty dignified programming like TED Talks, the normalization of this behavior on the cuffs of the release of the Epstein files. So I think I would condemn the TED Talks for this trying to normalize pedophilia at such a time that
Respect it. Respect, she said. Respect pedophiles.
yeah. So
Respect it.
I would condemn the TED Talks, and I would certainly, I don't know her name, I didn't get her name, but I would
I don't
certainly
have it. I'm looking for it. I was looking for the actual TED Talk. It's good. I have to find it for the show notes.
So I don't, these things are very difficult for me, especially as someone who works in a field with people who have intellectual developmental disabilities, duly diagnosed with psychosis. Oftentimes, the people that I work with are actually dynamically impacted by all sorts of trauma, and many of those traumas being sexualized, and often when they are young children and by adults. So I absolutely think that this is quite troubling, the direction that I think elite society wants us to go in to accept their own crimes. But overwhelmingly, the vast majorities of people, well, actually, I don't know, because like I say, unfortunately, we see that children are abused in different institutions all the time by literally the tens and hundreds of thousands in different cases. Facebook makes it impossible, but even when I talk about this on Facebook, if you just literally post articles from the New York Times, from the Washington Post,
Yep.
from the BBC, from the Guardian, and add no commentary about institutions that have engaged in mass child sex abuse, Facebook will delete those comments.
It's
So,
bad.
so it's hard to even talk about how widespread, unfortunately, this behavior is, and unfortunately, how institutionalized it is. So, to me, it's not just a problem with Jeffrey Epstein and the president of the United States. It absolutely is a problem with Jeffrey Epstein, the president of the United States, but it goes well beyond that as
Of
well.
course it
Really
does.
does.
It was in the biker community. It's not just the 1%. It's not just the wealthy. This happened, and I talked about it in a show. This happened in my life through the biker community. I saw it. I witnessed the things happening, and I was a young girl involved in stuff. But I saw some terrible, hideous things. I witnessed things happen to me like unreal many times over in the day when I grew up, because there was like no protection. And then when something did happen to you, you felt like it was your fault. You felt guilty. You never told anybody. I mean, I have several things, but we'll move on because it's not
Yeah.
really about me, but it is about, the experiences that have happened. So, all right. So here we are with someone who is our attorney general, who was at was supposed to be testifying about these files, who is definitely doing a cover up, and this was her go-to because of course she was obfuscating everything.
The Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee.
Okay. So, Tony, your analysis of her deflection. I mean, I watched the whole thing that day and I saw her not look and turn at all. I saw her demeanor. I saw she is completely not qualified for the job. Your thoughts on her performance and this lovely piece of crap.
Well, performance is exactly the right word here. This is very performative. It's hard to believe this is actually real. But yes, this is the Attorney General of the United States, Ms. Pam Bondi here. She's completely detached from reality. She's obfuscating, talking about how the Dow Jones Industrial Complex on the stock market is doing, as opposed to dealing with the real crimes, the real tragedies, the reason why she's been brought before the Congress on this issue. She's completely, you can tell that she's performing for a one-man show for the president himself. And that's what a lot of this administration is about, is obfuscating, charades, being performative, overly reactive, bombastic, dismissive, elusive, evasive. And you really see that coming out in Ms. Bondi here. So unfortunately, this is not the first time that we've seen a Trump administration official act this way. And it's really horrifying, because to know that she's been sitting on this for, well, since the beginning of the Trump administration, that she's had this information on her desk. She knows the extent that those victims have been abused better than anyone else in the room there. And instead of moving towards justice, instead of moving toward accountability, protection of the victims here, she's going to be moving in the opposite direction. This shows you where she's willing to bat and where she's willing to throw down her name. And this is just who we have to realize that we're dealing with here, that as these files are coming out, her boss is mentioned at the very low end, sometime between 38,000 times, and at the high end over 1 million. And so far, it's estimated that we've only had between 1 to 3% of the files actually released relating to this case.
Is it that low? It's that low?
It's that low.
Whoa.
And many of those files have been redacted. So this is somebody who is being performative and evasive on purpose. She has no intentions of taking the tragedy that befell those women seriously, and she has no intentions of investigating the crimes of the people who were involved. So unfortunately, that's all on display for us here and now to see.
Yeah. Well, I was quite shocked because the woman has seen all of the files. She's seen it all. How can she see the horrors in those files, the abuses, the awful things, and just be, she's the ice queen she is. And someone in the chat says, and I'm not going to go there, I think the crime syndicate has threatened Bondi. That's why she's so crazy. If she tells the names, it'll all be the rich dynasty CEO. I don't give her that. You know why? She took the job. She didn't have to take the job. She knew what the job entailed. She knew what was going on. So
right, and this is public now. This is not, still happening behind the scenes. The world, look, and this is not just happening in a vacuum. Our allied governments that have had this thing, England, for example, others have gone to start prosecuting these elites.
Not here.
So we can do this. The reason why we are not doing, and that's an obfuscation there, and I don't think that our audience members doing that on purpose, but we have to hold.
No, of course not. I love her. That's Karen.
Right. I don't, like I said, I don't think that's on purpose, but I do want to address it. No, what's happening here is that members of the Trump administration themselves are deep in this. Bondi sees her job. Kash Patel, head of the FBI, sees his job as protecting the president, protecting the administration against all accountability here. They have lied about the nature of these files, what's in these files, the release of these files. We don't know how they come through these files. And to see this happen, this is what you do when you are protecting. This is the sort of behavior that we see with children of adult alcoholics. And that's what we're seeing here in Bondi. She's the perfect representation of that, and she's protecting the dad here, Daddy Trump.
She's been around for a long time in Florida. She knows everything. She knows everything. She was involved. She wasn't the attorney general yet, and when she did her campaign, she talked about protecting the children, and has done. Well, she was lying, obviously. I think there's going to be more ties. I saw there was a picture of her very young, much younger, in Florida with Donald Trump. So these ties go very deeply. Whether or not she was involved, I was speculating. I had made a video, it's members only, that her behavior made me feel like, shit, she's in the files. Who knows? She could be. But I made it members only because I had made an error in it. It was Trump. Trump donated $25,000 to her campaign, and she was going to then squash the Trump University case in Florida.
Oh, wow.
So she had to give it back because there was a lot of uproar about it. But she's been dirty for a long time. I don't think she's a
Well, of
she's
course, that this administration, the head official, the president himself, is a criminal. So of course he would surround himself by other shady characters. So
hmm
that's not at all surprising that we have these sort of voodoo people, like Miss Bondi herself. But yeah, let's keep going with this.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we are going to move to another lovely one.
I got it. Trump has made the Republicans the optimistic party. He is optimistic. He may embellish his numbers from time to time, but I think people love an optimist. He wants to make America great again. He says we're the hottest economy in the world. He says he's got over $18 trillion in foreign investment. I don't care if the numbers aren't precisely right. The optimism is precisely right, Newt.
Just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
All right. So, where do we go with Mr. Kudlow and all the crap that they're feeding to the
Yeah, well, Larry's always been a very interesting and animated character and detached from reality. And he would, and of course, Kudlow would go after Obama if Obama was using this tactic of just lie about how you feel, regardless of what the reality is. But yeah, I mean, he's signing off to it. The numbers may not be. We can't trust the numbers, right? We just got a jobs report. Numbers said 130,000 Americans were hired. But the reason why we can't trust the jobs numbers in the United States is because the last director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was fired because Donald Trump didn't like the numbers. And so now are we getting numbers that Donald Trump would like? He certainly does like the numbers, and and the director isn't fired. So I'll let you put that together. Look at what's happening with the Fed right now. The Fed chair is under legal investigation, is being sued by the Trump administration because of their independency. So this is an administration that will weaponize the legal system against different heads here and there based on whether or not they're pushing policy that he wants to see pushed. So that's what's happening here. The Trump administration is detached from reality. It's losing in the polls.
yeah.
Of course, the vast majority of Democrats, but even the majority of independents now are turning against the president on all of his major policy flanks, including immigration. And so the president can lie to himself, and his administration can lie to him, and they can lie to us. We just saw what happened with Renee Good and Alex, and that was on camera. And you had Christy Nome, you had Miss Bondi again, you had Bovino, all come out and lie to us and tell us that what we saw we didn't see, what we heard we didn't hear. So that's the same tactic here, is that they're going to be shaping the reality for us. And if we don't concede, then there's something wrong with us, not them.
Right.
So we're being told that things are better than ever. Meanwhile, we are losing our international relationships left and right. Meanwhile, our farmers are being devastated. Meanwhile, inflation is still going up and the tariffs have increased costs for average Americans. Meanwhile, we're seeing that AI is replacing our jobs. Meanwhile, the wage hasn't grown. Less people have health care.
That's AI.
People are being cut off healthcare systems. Education costs have still expanded. We have no response to the affordability crisis in terms of housing. And of course, now we're not doing anything about the climate crisis. So this is an administration that's going to continue to depart from reality. And I think that Kudlow is just another voice. And of course, Newt Gingrich, my goodness, my God.
He's still around.
To resurrect him now.
Yeah. He was another one. I mean, his morals, his wife was dying and he divorced her when she was sick with cancer, and I think he had married someone else. I mean, these people, look, I suppose it happens on, I'm not going to take sides. It's a political system issue. I mean, we've seen people that are on the Democratic Party.
So was that Fox Business?
Yeah,
that was on.
it was
I
Fox.
got it. Trump has made the
Yeah,
Republicans the optimistic
so here's
party.
what
He
I
is
will
optimistic.
say. Here's what I'll say about Fox. It is absolutely incredible. I remember growing up, I was in eighth and ninth grade when President Obama was first elected. And I remember when he wore that tan suit, and it was the biggest controversy on the right for so long. How dare this man
How
break
funny.
decorum and look absolutely great in a tan suit? And they hated President Obama for that and went after him. And then juxtapose that to today, where the president is, again, cankles deep in the Epstein files, that he has destroyed the legacy of the post-war era in terms of our international relations, that Donald Trump has completely isolated us in terms of the international community, all except for basically Israel, and potentially Russia and Putin. I mean, this is completely nonsensical. What this administration has done to the American reputation here at home and abroad. And the little criticism that you're going to see ever on Fox News of this administration is absolutely crazy. But this is exactly right, because they have Fox News anchors as part of the administration. So this should, I guess, surprise us to see that really Fox News is an arm
Right.
of this administration. It has been an arm of the Republican Party, but they are the media arm of the national media arm of the presidential administration.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. But there's also been others in the files. I mean, we saw Hakeem Jeffries. There was campaign donations solicited. Whether or not he knew what was happening in depth, he was still. I think there was a picture of him with Epstein, seated with Epstein.
Well, and this
Is
is
that real?
why
Is it real?
And this is why under Merrick Garland, this is why under the Biden administration that we didn't have this type of disclosure, because there are Democrats who are also, powerful people, elites who have close contacts with Epstein as well. And you know what I say to them? Prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. And
Absolutely.
if that means that's the minority leader in the House, guess what? He should
Yeah.
be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You know what? If that means that Bill Clinton, the former president of the United States, have deep ties and he's doing this stuff, prosecute him to the full extent of the law.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the sort of bipartisanism that we need. We don't need bipartisan agreement on how not to make sure that our students can't go to college. We don't need bipartisan agreement on how not to make sure our people don't have universal health care. We don't need bipartisan agreement on polluting the atmosphere. We need bipartisan agreement on prosecuting pedophiles in both the Republican and Democrat Party to the fullest extent of the law, regardless of how much money they have and regardless of how connected they are.
Very well said. Very well said. All right. Well, we're going to move on, and let's look at the orange turd. Let's see. Let's listen to this, because he sounds horrible. He looks horrible. But let's listen to this.
But you got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be. I mean, they'll find a reason to impeach me.
A reason, like we don't.
Impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are.
Okay.
We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things.
Like what? Like what?
I am just like stunned at what is on his face. It's like he's wearing some type of bronze mask.
Oh, well,
or something.
he wears the makeup, and then
Oh my
I
gosh.
had a picture. I should have brought that picture up of his hand
Yeah.
with the bruises, but I can't pull it up right now. But it was actually, people. I have to say, X is very funny. I stick around because, man,
I mean, this
there are.
looks like something from the Hunger Games. This just doesn't even look
Yeah,
real to
right.
me.
Well, this
That
meme was
shot.
it was the bruise, but it was Epstein's face. The bruise. I mean, people are funny. I have to admit it. X is very entertaining, and I'm
Donald Trump is a
trolling.
better President Snow than President Snow from the Hunger Games. I mean, this guy. I mean, this
God,
this image right now is really
look at it.
mind traumatizing to me. It just looks the hair, the face,
Everything.
what he's saying, the posture. Like this doesn't even seem real, but this is our president, which is why this is incredible. But yeah, that's the
Incredible.
face of a guy who is ankles deep in the Epstein files. And he looks like someone who would be deep in files like that. Um,
Look, I remember all this because I lived in the metropolitan New York area. I didn't like him then. And he had the beauty pageant with the young girls, and they would all parade around. And he was so disgusting to me then, heinously disgusting. I knew there were things wrong.
and
I
he came
knew.
out and said that. He said during the little Miss American pageant.
Hmm.
That's why I love how people are so shocked and in denial, can't believe.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he said so himself. Epstein likes him young. He
Ugh.
says that when he's at Miss America pageants, little Miss America pageants, he goes in the back and he looks
Yeah.
on the girls. And the age between the pageants are between 14 and 19. So again, are we to believe that Donald Trump was only looking at the girls that were of legal age?
Oh,
But even if that was the case, those are still very, very young women, just barely legal. And that, again, they like to straddle that line, but it's clear that they've crossed it in these files, where we're talking about women as young as 12, 13 years old that were involved in some of these
hmm,
Epstein flights and visits. So this is absolutely disgusting. And to see the president parade around this way, and we got to remember that he was absolutely against the Congress releasing these files. It was by actually Republicans agreeing with the Democrats on this,
yeah.
the majority of Democrats on
Oh,
this,
he
that we
didn't
got
want
these
it.
files released.
Of course he didn't want it. And it was just so funny. I know this has been talked about ad nauseum how during the Biden administration when these Kash Patel and what's the other guy that was with him who quit now, the FBI?
I'm forgetting his
Yeah,
name.
anyway, they were screaming and yelling about this, and look at how Kash Patel is covering up. After he screamed about this because he thought it was going to be almost like the Pizzagate cabal. And that's a whole other area. I mean, we've heard these stories that Jeffrey Epstein actually created the whole Pizzagate narrative as a distraction to get people to run. They knew that they could modify behavior with Pizzagate and getting people to run after all this stuff when it was really happening. So I guess conspiracy theories do happen. A lot of people are saying, see, it was a conspiracy theory, but it was real, only it was just manufactured to push people to look over there, look over there. It's happening here, but look over there. All right. I have another one, and this is very prescient, very prescient.
Donald Trump is the Wizard of Oz. He is the guy. It's a man, he plays Monopoly with real fucking buildings. This is a scary man. And he owns all these beauty pageants, Miss America, Miss Universe. Isn't that a bit like Michael Vick owning a series of pet stores? It's a fucking catch and release program for him. This is a man who said, my daughter is hot. Even people in Arkansas went, that's fucking wrong. That's just way out of place. And that fucking hair, my God. I believe the hair is the Donald. I believe that's it. I believe the body is a maintenance system for the hair. He goes home at night going, we're home. Hey, fuck it, let's get out of here now. I'll fuck her, let's do this.
So he knew. I mean, this is like 25, I think it's like 25 years ago.
I
Certainly,
know.
certainly
Yeah.
before the presidency, when he was running, it was when he was doing The Apprentice, I believe.
And this is Robert Williams, right?
Robin Williams, yes.
Yeah.
Robin Williams knew. We knew. Even when Donald was on Howard Stern, and I was a big Howard Stern listener, I knew Howard was a shtick. Howard was married. Howard didn't cheat on Allison. Everybody thought he was a disgusting pervert, whatever he was. But Howard was shrewd, and he would get these people to say things. He got Donald Trump to say, to admit, to say horrible things, and say what you want about Howard, but he's still around. But
Yeah.
he definitely he has the goods on Donald Trump, and he was telling everybody, please don't vote for Donald Trump back in even 2016. Well, everybody was saying that had a brain, but
Yeah.
Donald Trump appealed to the racist, to the hater. Remember the Central Park Five? I remember seeing the big ad he took out in I don't know if it was the New York Post, but he took out this gigantic ad saying that the Central Park Five were the rapists, that these guys should be prosecuted. They were exonerated because they were not. It was a big rape case in New York City. He's a racist on top of a pedophile. He's a virulent racist. And he still to this day will not apologize for taking that ad out.
Well, Donald Trump doesn't apologize.
No, he doesn't. He's disgusting.
No.
He's disgusting. Yes, I know Susan says that Howard was a sexist pig. Well, yeah. And that was his shtick. In his real life, he raised 3 daughters. He was, and then now he's married to his second wife. I mean, I am not defending Howard's behavior. I listened to him for years because I started listening to him when he was on the Briarcliff Manor station when I was like, 18 or 17. I mean, I was a kid. So, but my point with Howard is Howard could make people talk when he interviewed them. That's where we have the clips of Donald Trump saying that his daughter is hot and that he would date her. All that sick shit. Very, very, very sick. All right. We're going to move on. This is cute. You'll like this.
Republican Party has done such a good job propagandizing that if you need anything from the government, you're a lazy piece of shit and you're a moocher, when really the parasites and the parasitic people in the country are the billionaires. Republican.
And that's what we're seeing, aren't we? The Trump Epstein class. And they've always deflected and gaslit and lied to people about how they were. It was the remember when Reagan did the welfare queen, talking about the Cadillacs. I mean, it's been decades ever since. Well, you could talk about it since Jim Crow, for gosh sakes.
Yeah. Well, I always think Jennifer Welch does such a good job just articulating for average people what's happening in this country. And for a long time, specifically the demographic that she comes from, white, middle class, educated, for a long time, this demographic, it was difficult for them to see beyond the quote unquote moderate Democrats and how the moderate Democrats were really an obstacle to progressive policy responses taking hold in this country. Why weren't we getting an effective opposition? She's able to see that now. And I think that this is a moment that can really empower the Democratic Party, that generally Democrats are starting to realize, wait, why is Hakeem Jeffries in the Epstein files? Why does Cory Booker have almost the same policy on Israel as Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Why does Chuck Schumer not fight back against ICE? People are starting to ask these questions. What is wrong with the opposition party? We're seeing this administration become completely fascistic. We're seeing that there's no safeguards, that they don't listen to court orders, they don't listen to judicial proceedings, that these people go ahead and gun-ho violate their laws. We have DHS sending out memos telling ICE that they can forcefully enter homes without a judicial warrant. And we just don't see the sort of pushback from the Democrats that we definitely need in a moment like this.
No.
And I think Jennifer Welch, what she's done for so many people who are consider themselves moderates, is to wake them up. You are not on the moderate side. Moderating the Trump policy is not a moderate position.
No.
And people are starting to see that. It's not People are starting to see that on the climate issue. People are starting to see that on international relations. People are starting to see that when it comes to all of these different facets that the Trump administration is going gung-ho on. And so it's time that people do wake up and see that. I think that Jennifer does a fantastic job on illuminating that. And unfortunately, I do think the Republican Party is a racist party. But what the Democrats do is moderate the status quo. So the Democrats may not be racist themselves, but if the status quo is racist, well, that's what I'm going to moderate. Whatever the status quo is, that's what I'll moderate. So is there a genocide going on in the Gaza Strip? I'll moderate that policy. Are ICE killing American citizens in the street? I'll moderate that policy. Is 70,000 people dying in the absence of healthcare every year? I'll moderate that policy. Even about the Epstein files, look how little in terms of vitriol the Democrats should be dominating the media, the headlines right now. I mean, talking about taking defeat out of the jaws of victory here. I mean, this is such a layup. And where are the Democrats? Where is the Democratic leader? Well, Hakeem Jeffries can't come out big on this because he might be in the files himself.
He is. He got donations or solicited donations without doing. Did he do his homework?
So there you go. So we can't expect Hakeem Jeffries to come out big on the Epstein files because he's got to come out big on himself. So he's not going to be leading the charge here. Yes. Chuck Schumer's not going to be leading the charge here. And so what we have to do, if we want the Democratic Party to be really responsive to us, we have to start by denouncing the leadership. We have got to call on, as Ro Khanna has already called on Chuck Schumer to step down. We have got to call on Hakeem Jeffries to step down. Not just step down. Hakeem Jeffries needs to be investigated for his role in the Epstein files.
I agree 100%.
So these things have to happen in order for us to get the Democratic Party that we need. Because if the Democrats come in power, and they come in power under Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's, we are not going to get the sort of prosecutions that this current administration, is definitely deserving of, up and down. Bovino needs to be prosecuted. Kristi Noem needs to be prosecuted. Pam Bondi obviously now needs to be prosecuted. I mean, the president himself needs to be prosecuted. So there needs to be a cleaning of house. And this is not about politics anymore. We have a judiciary, and this is a Mitchell McConnell judiciary that I think can even prosecute these people. So this is not about political process. That's what's actually happening with the Trump administration. The Trump administration is weaponizing the legal system to go after a whole swath of people that he doesn't agree with on policy issues, not on criminal issues. He makes up civil violations and things like that to go after these people, like in the case of Letitia James, like in the case of the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, like in the case of James Comey. And by the way, I'm no fan of James Comey, the former head of the FBI. So if the Trump administration can go full speed ahead on its prosecutions, certainly a much more rational, a much more reasonable, a much more legal administration can prosecute the current administration for its crimes.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that really gets me is that the women, Noem and Bondi and some of these other females that you would have thought may have, well, they're not, but they are our concentration camp prison guards. They are Gestapo party members who work at concentration camps. And I'm just saying that rhetoric, it's not real, but these are the women. That's how did they get women?
Well, not yet. I mean, we're seeing now a massive build out of for concentration camps around this country, turning warehouses into concentration camps, making space for 200,000 additional detainees to be processed. So we're definitely getting there.
And who are they? I thought they
Well,
pretty much wiped them all,
well, Stephen Miller has a view
Mm-hmm.
of who needs to be deported from this country, and increasingly that view is not just quote unquote undocumented immigrants. So this is a very serious administration. This administration is very dangerous, even though they lack a lot of competency. I mean, Christy Nome is, in my opinion, just a complete maniac. I mean, Pam Bondi just proved herself to be a complete maniac as well, and they don't mind doing
Sociopaths.
this.
Right.
The way that, I mean, Bo Vino, my goodness, after we saw Alex get murdered horrifically on international television, Bo Vino thanked the ICE officers for their training. This is, I mean, this administration is so dangerously detached from reality that I don't think that we should continue to be surprised that they
No.
just don't have the wherewithal. And we absolutely should move and force our Democrats. Do not be meek mouth and tippy toed on this when you come into power. These guys are already, they had Tulsi Gabbard down there in Georgia already trying to manipulate the voting polls. So this is a time that with the Democrats coming to power, we have got to clean house and prosecute this administration to the fullest extent of the law.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had a different party, if we had real ranked vote choice and we had different parties and we didn't have to have this just the two, the uniparty. It's
You know
awful.
what? That would be nice, but
But
that's
it's
not
not
the
going to
world that we.
happen.
Yeah,
No.
that's not the world. But the world that we do have is where people need to get in Chuck Schumer's face and call for him to step down. We need real leadership in this moment. And if we get this feckless, ineffectual, meek mouth leadership that we currently have, we're not going to prosecute this appropriately. And
Nope.
guess what? When it comes to the next elections after 26,
If we have
we're
them.
going to be in a lot of danger because people are going to see that the Democrats are not going to be responsive to the crises. They're going to act like Cory Booker and see Renee Good and Alex get gunned down and say, "Oh, I think that officer needs a few more days of training."
Yeah,
No,
exactly. No, I know.
that's horrendous.
I know. I know. It is. It is horrendous. It was insulting. It was. And then of course there's so much going on with the Israel connection, and Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad, and that ICE agents
And
are
let me
being
say this about the next administration. The next administration, Democrat administration, comes in. Next time Benjamin Netanyahu lands in the United States, he ought to immediately
arrest
be under
that.
he needs to be under international arrest and brought to The Hague and prosecuted to the fullest extent of his crimes and never
Absolutely.
enter into Western societies again.
Ever.
Okay, he should be completely isolated from into interfacing with Western societies again, and that's what we should do to him. And also, I think that the Biden administration and the Trump administration ought to also be charged for their partake in the crimes in the Gaza Strip as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so this is what
100%.
happens when you don't hold the elite accountable. And yeah, I think that there absolutely is a link between Mr. Epstein here at Mossad in Israel. And that needs to be absolutely exposed for what it is. But yes, there's a lot of this. By the way, I don't know why people even find this that controversial. There's a lot of
No,
this.
I don't think it
The
is
American Intelligence
controversial.
Agency and the Israeli intelligence agencies, and has been for over decades now. This relationship that we like to pertain on the surface it is only surface deep. I mean, the Israelis have even talked about nuclear options against the United States. So there's a lot of turmoil, below the surface between these two, what seems to be unbreakable allies. But there certainly is a lot of tension between these two. And even now, we are very likely preparing for strikes against Iran. We are very likely preparing for wartime strikes against Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu was just over here again with the
fanning the flames. I mean, the people in Israel, and I know I've talked about this before because I didn't bring it up, but I have a document written to me from someone I know that lives in Israel who moved there, who said, well, I wasn't religious. I moved there. She was she was indoctrinated. She moved there. I love the Jewish culture, she says, and then she tells me how they have a bomb shelter in their house, and that she's so happy that we should obliviate Iran. How nice that is. These are human beings that live in Iran. I mean, it's disgusting. It is just disgusting. Makes me sick.
And I just want to I guess change my phraseology. So it's not that Benjamin Netanyahu should be isolated from Western societies, not just Western societies. All
he
member
needs
states
to get out.
All member states of the United Nations should participate. If this man enters across international borders into member states, should be arrested immediately. And I also agree with the American presidents on that as well. I also think that the Trump administration officials and the Biden administration officials also need to be prosecuted. So this issue of not dealing with elites getting away with their crimes has snowballed. And we see that not only are elites getting away with their crimes when it comes to this pedophilia and Epstein, they're getting away with their war crimes. They're getting away with their civil and domestic crimes, their financial crimes, things of that nature as well. There's a whole suite of corruption that's going on right now. And this might actually be one of the most corrupt eras in Western civilization.
Absolutely.
Since the Gilded Age.
It is. These people on the right and even on the left, want to scream that it's anti-Semitism to talk about this, but it is patently not. In my opinion, to call what we are saying anti-Semitism is an insult. The Zionism is different than Judaism, and this is not anti-Semitism. This is what's happening. Happening.
And there's a push, and I think that's a propaganda.
Yeah.
Particularly from some circles, they're trying to make Judaism, Zionism, being Israeli, all synonymous. But of course, those things are not synonymous.
No.
Judaism is a religion. You can be ethnically Jewish.
Right.
You can be Israeli, that is a citizen of the Israeli state.
Yeah.
And a Zionist, which is a political ideology.
Right.
So these are all different things. And yes, there are a lot of Jews who are Zionists, but there are also a lot of Christians who are Zionists too.
Yeah, Joe Biden said, "I am a Zionist." That was where he made his first big mistake.
And in fact, Zionism is a movement which is largely a secular movement among ethnic Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And so this idea that, in fact, the Reformed Jewish Platform of 1885 specifically denounced and rejected Zionism, and they were no less Jewish for doing so.
Right.
There are Jews in the Haredi and the Hasidic communities that also reject Zionism.
Totally,
and
all
they are
over.
no less Jewish for doing it.
Right, and
so
they
this
are vocal.
idea
They are very vocal.
This idea that if you're anti-Zionist, that you're anti-Jewish, or that you're anti-Semitic, is itself anti-Semitic. And I think that the Zionists, and I actually am sympathetic to, what was considered last century Zionism. And yet, modern Zionism today is so extreme that if you don't concede every point of the modern Zionist cause, you're not only anti-Zionism, but you're also anti-Jewish, you're also anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
And this has been completely devastating in terms of relations, because they're trying to foster this idea that, again, all Jews, so if you attack Zionism, there's an attack upon all Jews, the collective. Mm-hmm. And this has been, I think, terrible in terms of Jewish relationships in the United States and in Israel. And so this idea that if you criticize Israel, you're criticizing Jews.
It's
so
crazy.
if you're and that's why touching topics like this are becoming more and more sensitive in terms of the anti-Semitism. But we have to push back against that. The vast majority of people who are in the files are not Jewish and have no relation to Judaism. So this has nothing to do about anti-Semitism.
It's non-secular.
Jeffrey Epstein happens to be Jewish, but he doesn't represent the Jewish people. He doesn't represent Judaism. He's just a gross and disgusting man who's been quite heinous and unfortunately has ties to the Israeli government.
Yeah. He's awful. It is to me it's very sad, and as everybody knew, I was studying and watching the Holocaust victims videos, and I've showed you the clip of what one said. These people are completely different. These survivors of the Holocaust, all of them had a message: never again for anyone. That was I was particularly affixed when this ICE crap was
Well,
happening.
clearly Epstein doesn't care about victims. He doesn't care about
No.
justice. And these people, and that's why this is so sad that we can't even begin to intertwine these things. The legacy and the history of Jewish struggle has nothing to do with what's happening in the Epstein files. And these things have to continue to be detached. It has nothing to do. Just because this is a Jewish individual does not mean that this is a Jewish conspiracy. And this is so ridiculous.
We have to
Why
be
is this not
careful.
why is this not an Italian conspiracy? Why is this not a Polish conspiracy? Why are the other people who of white descent?
Right.
Why is it not an ethnically of their conspiracies too?
Because Jews are a very good target. It's been happening historically. Sorry. I've learned it through my studying for the last several months. And, it's turned my stomach. It's very easy to make Jews the scapegoat. The things I've seen on X, some of the hideous tropes that are actually out there, though that's anti-Semitism. That's
Yeah,
disgusting
no,
stuff.
it is. And I think to myself this all the time because Jay-Z is mentioned in the Epstein files. Why is this not a black conspiracy?
Yeah,
I mean,
that
this idea, this idea that because one ethnic group might be linked. Now, you can say potentially Epstein was the head, but I mean, arguably, but the role that Ghislaine Maxwell, the role that Trump himself played in officiating what happened, I think is arguable. I mean, these people all played intimate roles, and it was necessary for each of the members to play their role that they did in order for these crimes to be officiated as they were. And I think about bringing them all to justice equally.
Yeah.
So this idea of focusing on an ethnic group over the individuals is nonsensical to me. I mean, look at this. This is heinous.
I think it was quite non secular. I mean, I do think, again, I'm not a person that really likes religion, quite frankly. I think it's been a problem but I respect other people's faith. Okay. But I think this, like you said, this goes the gamut. Now, Pastor Ben had said something about that on a tweet that, how come there's no black people in the Epstein files when there probably are, there are. So like you said, why is it just that? So there's more to look at, more to understand, more to research. It's going to take years. Maybe it won't even come out in my lifetime, but I cannot believe I am this age and I have to live the rest of my life under this cloud and worried. People are telling me, I was watching Divided We Stand last night, Dave and Brian. And David made a comment, well, we'll have to leave. Maybe we'll have to leave if the SAVE Act passes, where millions of people will be disenfranchised from voting. And I'm like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And I just said, basically, we're just all going to have to learn to live like Russians. I mean,
Well, it's so interesting because, in the Jewish community, Jews who are on the left, Jews who are on the right, I mean, real questions are people are starting to ask. I mean, people are asking themselves, how safe is America going to be
I hear you.
over the next decade? And these are serious questions because the country's in a state that we haven't seen before, at least many of us in our lifetime, really since the Civil Rights era.
Right.
And, we really see now a government that's willing to use the military apparatus of the federal government against the state to pursue its aims. these ICE raids have been some of the most jarring and shocking things I've seen in my life. Using a Black Hawk helicopter in urban Chicago to do a raid on an apartment complex, and you have these kids walking out zip tied in the freezing weather.
Hideous.
Seeing these mass agents who don't have to identify themselves grab people, chase them down the street on the basis of skin color and if they have an accent, and throw them into unmarked vehicles, taking them to places unknown.
Absolutely hideous.
I mean, you really, like I said, we've never seen anything like this. And the last time we saw something like this, it wasn't government sponsored officially. It was the KKK.
Yeah.
Where you had masked agents who would go around and take people to places unknown and do unknown things with them. But now we have a federal force of mass agents that have the legitimacy of law enforcement with the government at their back. You got a maniac, the head advisor of the president, Stephen Miller, saying that these officers have complete federal immunity as they engage in these activities. You have Kristi Noem down there at the Department of Homeland Security is giving these guys memos to do whatever they want to disregard the Constitution. And now the president's talking about using ICE to basically intimidate the polls. He wants to nationalize the polls in Democratic states.
That's part of the problem with the SAVE Act, and between that and ICE, that it could be. It really could be.
And what's likely to happen is if people on the left aren't forceful, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries will work with a small contingent of Democrats so that they can pass the SAVE Act. And that's very likely to happen. Very, very, very likely to happen.
That's what Dave was saying last night on Divided We Stand, how that could be what makes people want to say, okay, we're leaving. And I'm like, I have 7 cats, and where am I going?
People have to be prepared for that reality.
Where am I going to go?
I mean, this is really an all hands on deck moment.
Absolutely.
Because if the Democrats basically do not hold the fence until November, we're going to be, because the Republicans are going to do everything they can to push their agenda in this last little bit, and to make sure we don't have fair elections. And if we have moderate Democrats who say, yeah, okay, I don't like the whole thing, but we'll do a little bit of it. If we have that nonsense go on, you give the Republicans an inch, they will take a mile every single time. And unfortunately, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are ready to do this, are ready to do it at any moment. So the American people are going to have to put a lot of pressure on. And like I say, Hakeem Jeffries does he's in a bad situation, especially as these Epstein files continue to come out, because people are going to want prosecution and his name should be on the list. And right now he's in a position of leadership where we need him. So this is why these things are so dangerous and difficult to navigate, is that when you allow the rot to grow so far, it's hard to cut it out. And we absolutely need now more than ever an effective Democratic Party that can hold these monsters accountable for what they've done over the last year or so.
All right. Let's take a breath. I want to move on. I want to show you a video that happened, that is happening now. We're segueing to another country, another colonial bullshit American maybe regime change thing. This is Cuba.
Oh no.
This just happened. An oil depot blown up or on fire. Yep. Look at that. And this just happened. As if the Cubans are not they're being starved now by us.
Well, for a long time,
it's worse
our
now.
sanction regime against the Cubans was meant to be a lesson for their independent nationalism that if you don't do what the United States tells you to do, we'll starve your people of food, we'll starve them of medicine, we'll starve them of access to the rest of the developed world. And that's largely been the U.S. policy against Cuba for over the last half century now. And unfortunately, because of the success that the Trump administration, temporary success, the Trump administration has had in Venezuela, it's now been emboldened perhaps to now move
Yeah,
against
sure.
Cuba.
And I think this
So,
is Rubio's deal. And I have
yep. And
another video. Okay, let's
Rubio's a
watch.
big time guy on this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
absolutely.
Let's watch him.
Will you make a public commitment today to rule out U.S. regime change in Cuba?
Regime change?
Yes.
Oh, no, I think we would love to see the regime there change. We would like to, that doesn't mean that we're going to make it change, but we would love to see it change. There's no doubt about the fact that it would be of great benefit to the United States if Cuba was no longer governed by an autocratic regime.
Okay. Now, there are a couple of things about what's happening and what Rubio wants. I have read that, first of all, I do believe it's the president of Cuba. Do they call her the president? She's come out and said we're between extreme weather events and what these sanctions, we're being starved, they're being heinously hurt because of our colonialist ideals. However, what does Cuba have that this party that the Republicans really want, that Trump wants? Probably nothing. It's Rubio. I think Rubio is behind this more than anybody because of his own immigrant family and maybe the Miami, he's from Florida, the Miami contingent. But I do think that Cuba, without sanctions, was doing quite well. Now, there's of course a contingency of Cubans that want to change, but do they want to change by America putting their boot on their neck and having it another regime change to put a puppet in, like's happened before?
So this is very dangerous, these policies. I think what's happening is that the United States believes that it can go in and surgically remove these regimes without dealing with the blowback of destabilizing these societies. And I think that they've been emboldened, as I say, by what happened in Venezuela with Maduro. But the problem is, just like when Bush had declared victory, landing on the back of a carrier, same thing here, that we really don't know what will be the long-term implications of trying to implement regime change. Most likely destabilization of power, a vacuum of power, and then a growth of groups that are even more hostile to the United States than the ousted regimes. So the likelihood of that is very high. Marco Rubio is a tiny hand, small diplomat. I mean, he just doesn't have the experience. He should not be the Secretary of State, of course, and even the title, calling him honorable, is a misnomer there. So we shouldn't be surprised to see such infantile policy at the State Department. And his remarks here don't surprise me at all. And of course, before a regime change operation, the government doesn't typically say that they're deeply involved. I mean, how long was it before we found out that Operation Ajax, the regime change operation for Iran in 1953, was led by the United States and the UK? Obama said that during his first administration, some 60 years later almost. So yes, I definitely think that the State Department under Marco Rubio probably is moving towards some sort of regime change strike against the Cubans.
And all the stuff we saw with Bad Bunny and how the reactionary right wing behaved over a halftime show of the big stupid football game, which is just overblown anyway. Although I watched it with my daughter, but I love the halftime show. But the ridiculousness of these ignoramus Republicans that now want to bring up some kind of charges and don't even bother having what was sung translated They just want to, they're just reacting so poorly. And that whole thing, it's just so transparent. How stupid Americans are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. All right. We're going to be taking a breath. Okay, everybody, take a deep breath. 10 seconds. Okay, we're moving on. Now we're moving on to the endangerment finding. Now we are going to move on to our beloved, beautiful Earth. And let's listen to this bunch of bullshit rhetoric by this guy.
Isn't it just a little bit
who lies
cute
through
for
his
the
teeth?
administration to now be saying we want to leave the power with Congress when there have been so many examples of this administration pushing the boundaries of executive power and court power and the law in general?
So I shouldn't follow the law.
I'm saying that there are many examples of this administration in gray areas of the law.
But you're asking about the endangerment finding, and I'm sitting here as the EPA administrator, and I'm happy to answer any question that you have. I committed when I was going through the confirmation process that I'm going to follow the law. And there's no way that I'm going to sit here and have any apology or regret for applying the best reading of a law and reading a Supreme Court decision that makes it clear that if you're going to regulate the heck out of greenhouse gas emissions with trillions of dollars of regulatory costs on Americans, that's something that Congress should have a debate and a vote on. And every time you see any member of Congress who wants to grandstand and complain and cry about the decision, the announcement that we made 2 days ago, well, why don't you do your damn job? You're a senator, you're a congressman, try to amend the Clean Air Act. Ask them, where in Section 202 of the Clean Air Act does it say anything about global climate change? Why don't you ask them why, and when they did this in 2009, did they not study each of these individual well-mixed gases individually? Ask them, why did they use well-mixed gases that aren't even emitted from vehicles, even though it was an endangerment finding on mobile sources? Ask them, why didn't you include water vapor if you're going to go there? Why didn't you look at local and regional impacts, which is what the EPA and Clean Air Act had been applied for 50 years? My job is to follow the law. And I will very proudly defend a decision that is based on what is, in fact, indisputably the best reading of the law. And guess what? Here's the best part. If Congress wants to change the law, they want to change Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and they want to tell me that I'm supposed to regulate the heck out of greenhouse gases, guess what? Then we'll do it.
Oh, well, okay. So he to me, that was doublespeak. It was not grounded in science. It was a lot of bullshit. He was put in to do exactly what he did, and he's actually lying. So do you have something to add to this before I go on to the next piece? Because then we have some articles to show, and I have some websites.
Yeah, so of course Mr. Zeldin there is very performative. I will say his act is better than Bondi's for sure. But I mean, this just shows how dangerous this administration is. I mean, the climate crisis, of course, as we all know, and we talked about extensively as we do all the time on your show, is real. But what this shows is that, in case there is any doubt, the Trump administration will not be responding to that reality. And unfortunately, greenhouse gas emissions in the United States have increased since the Trump administration is taking hold. And we're likely to see that greenhouse gases will continue to increase with stronger intensity throughout the remainder of the Trump administration as they go all nose barred here with increasing industrial pollutions. This is not an administration that, of course, is serious about environmental protection at all. I don't even know if this is an administration that believes in environmental protection.
No, they don't. If I put on my tinfoil hat, they want to kill us. Yeah. They would like to eliminate older people, disabled people, children. I honestly feel this, and I've never been.
And we have to remember, this is an administration that is pursuing Greenland because they understand that global warming is opening it up, which will make its resources more accessible. So again, this is an administration that understands that climate warming is in fact real and that climate warming is happening. But they like that because for them, it gives them this opportunity to, take these destabilizations of Greenland and different parts of the cryosphere to expand their political ambition.
But they also say national security. That's how they tell the American people about
Right.
Greenland. They don't say anything about that. They say it's national security. We need Greenland for our national security, when we can have any base on there. We have bases on there. So that's the bunch of bullshit, gaslighting, lying that they have done to the Fox, OAN, and Newsmax viewer. We need it for national security. They're never
Right.
going to admit that they know.
So none of this surprises me.
No, of course not. All right. Well, we're going to go from him, and then we're going to segue a little bit to say, okay, here's why.
If we then look at the end of this and say this is really where we began to burn fossil fuels in about 1850-ish, and we were about 280 parts per million by volume at that particular time. And if we look at that where we are today, we're now at 424 parts per million, almost overnight. We've gone to these ridiculously high levels, and it's rising rapidly every single year. The way the science is going at the moment, we're going to see a rise of about 2 degrees centigrade or so by the middle of this century. That's very hard to imagine that we're going to be any less than that. But there's now a small but very real risk that we could hit 4 degrees centigrade by the end of this century. Now, the prospects of 3 and 4 degrees centigrade of warming are absolutely dire. I mean, we cannot risk that at all. It is an extreme and unstable climate, far beyond any safe zone that has nurtured our civilization. And we're going to be seeing unprecedented societal and ecological collapse at these sorts of levels. We can see escalating geopolitical instability and rising military tensions. And there will be no real economy to talk about. There's no reduction in GDP. We'll be looking at systemic collapse.
And
when did Anderson say this?
This one's not that long ago, I don't think. I'll have to go back and get the year. But it to me, this is something that Lee Zeldin should watch. You know, he should look. I don't think he's ever talked to any of the climate scientists. I really don't.
But that's also a wrong way to think about this.
Okay.
Lee Zeldin
Please
is
tell me
not
the right way.
He's not interested in the facts, right?
No, you're right.
Lee Zeldin is intelligent enough to obviously understand. We just saw his performance. This is a man. Wait, you're in the Epstein files?
Oh yeah, we have that. I have stuff, but I was gonna actually pull up something else first.
I'm kidding everybody.
Oh.
Yes.
I wanted to pull this up first after Kevin and show you guys this report. But
anywho, yes, Zeldin's not interested in the facts. He's interested in his agenda. As someone already just pointed out, he works for the oil industry. The oil industry is the lead industry that knows about the science of climate change. So being presented, remember again, on this channel, we've been through this. It was Exxon that started the large climate studies back in the 60s and 70s, that they went on to say, well, we're going to go in the opposite of our findings because that would hurt our business model.
True. Well, I pulled this up because this is from 2025, and it's the effects of human-caused greenhouse gas emissions on U.S. climate, health, and welfare, and it is from the National Academies. I will have the link to this in our show notes. They have key messages. This is a great report. Greenhouse gases and their emissions. They're talking about all the greenhouse gases. Legislative requirements applying to greenhouse gas emissions. And it's just, they have graphs showing U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by the gas, Lee. Okay? Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, HFCs, PFCs. So this report has it all. It has it all. And then they show the primary energy production source, coal and natural gas, crude oil production, natural gas, plant liquids production, nuclear, it's all in here. Primary energy consumption by source, you can see all of this for yourself. All of this for yourself. Like you said, he doesn't care. Earth's energy imbalance, that even is in here, atmospheric carbon dioxide. There's so much in this report. It is overwhelming, but it's good. Annual global increase of NO2 even.
I mean,
Everything.
this would be, to me, if we showed Zeldin this would be the response. Imagine someone who is cooked up on heroin and you're trying to show him all of his bodily responses on infographics, what happens to his heart, what happens to his vitals, and all of this. You know what he's going to do? He's going to shove the monitor down and keep doing what he's doing. Yep. Now, it's important for us because these things impact us. But this is why we need an administration that's responsive, right? We know that the Trump administration is not going to be responsive to any of this data. It's amazing that we still have access to the data. But again, just the lack of care here. And it is really horrifying to know that all the lack of action that we've taken since I've been tuned into this crisis and allowing the emissions to accumulate and seeing these storms increase with intensity, heat waves. I mean, even the local weather today, we've had snowstorms. It's raining right now in February. You know, so just witnessing our planet go through this is absolutely incredible. And these graphs are, I mean, for any normal, sane person,
they're intense.
To see the concentration of CO2 just skyrocket and know that the global average temperature has to respond in a very real one-to-one sense with the change in the atmospheric chemistry we've caused is devastating.
And Elliot was showing his graphs showing basically the same things. And he's, you know, his graphs on Friday night. But this is observed climate changes from human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, this report's got it all. I wish that, you know, of course we don't have time, but it's going to be in the show notes. All of this stuff was amazing. And there's even a dashboard here from the Climate Brink, which you can go to and fool around with and look at the latest anomaly, the latest data it was on the 13th. Let me see. I don't know. It might have been updated, but 226 projections, February projections on the over 1.5 C, you know, daily temperature anomalies, spectacular information still available, updated using probably not a lot, but like Elliot said, he's not having so much trouble getting everything from the United States still. There are things that are up. There are, but I just wanted to show you guys that to counter, you know, these reports exist, these two, and they'll be in the show notes. These are quite incredible. And these two websites, and this was from the ERA5 Climate Pulse. Okay. And it was updated on the 15th. So these are websites you can pull up for you want to talk to people for your information. It's there. It's there. Okay? You like?
Yeah, that was very informative.
All right.
I think that the people will like that tool a lot.
All right. They'll be in the show notes. Now, the only reason I wanted to segue back was to show you I found a website called JMail and the JMail Encyclopedia, the encyclopedia of people, places, and events from the Epstein scandal, grounded in the JMail data. They have a supplement to Wikipedia. There's a whole lot of information in this. I mean, these people unbelievably have nothing else to do, but they are collating all this. So, I mean, there are emails in here. They've got, I can't even, I'm not even to even show you, but there's links. You want to play around with all this stuff? It's all in here. But this is the encyclopedia, and they have top articles in here. The Palm Beach Estate. So it's just like Wiki, but it's all about this criminal statutes, and I found this and I thought, oh my God, I could, Zorro Ranch. There's just so much information. So for those of you who are interested in that, those will be in the show notes. Also, I didn't want to take too long on that, but I did want to show you what I found and what I wanted to share with you guys, because our show notes, I put everything in there, and every show you can find a lot of information, just like with my writing on Substack, which now when I write on Substack, my last article did very well. Cassandra's are right, basically our Cassandras have been right, and it's in Substack, and I put links in, but now I'm not just putting references. What I'm doing is highlighting, and you click on it and it goes right to the link, because I find that works better than the old way of bibliography that I always did. Sometimes you have to change from what you always do, and now I have the technology with my word processor to do that. And this article actually was quite popular, so I'm happy, because I'm enjoying the writing part very much. I love Substack. I tried to multi-stream to Substack Friday night. It didn't work. I had the RTMP or whatever it is. It didn't work yet. So, but I hope to be able to, and I'm getting enough subs now that maybe I will do a few Substack onlys once I learn how to do it. Although YouTube is my main thing, and if they don't kick me off again, hopefully not. Kick us off. But Substack has got a lot, and a lot of us are on there. Sam's on there. He just wrote a whole book. He did his the Collapse Chronicles, his alien abduction book. It's
Oh, wow.
Well, I sent you the link. It's wonderful. I started yesterday. I think I'm on chapter 4. It's just, he's such a good writer, and it's so entertaining. And I think that he should continue, writing and more.
Well, I'll crack into it.
You'll
today.
love it. You will love it. I sent you the link.
It's a good day to read right now, because it's just raining outside and it's really dreary. And
what do we have here? Well, I think the sun is out again. Second day. Yesterday, Antonio, I was feeling, my back was hurting all week. I was feeling really blue and low. And all of a sudden yesterday, the sun was out. And it was cold, but all of that feeling lifted. And I know that I probably suffer from that seasonal affect disorder where, when it's dark, you feel like shit. It correlates with your mood. Not depressed, because I don't feel depressed, although everything happening for all of us in that are in this chat that are watching would have every reason to be depressed over all these overwhelming things. But whoever said it, action is the antidote to despair. Keep yourself busy. Sam's writing books. I'm writing articles. I'm working on, working with my county on the data center issue, getting ready now to clean up, maybe when it gets warmer, to take more foster kiddies, starting seeds, all of you out there, and I always do tell you guys that there is the Good Grief Network. The Good Grief Network out there is wonderful resource for when you feel like you can't handle, because we are in a different, I say, we need people that understand the climate crisis. We need people that understand collapse. And these people are definitely collapse accepted. So let's look at a few questions, and then questions and comments. Oh boy, there were a lot. I'll start way back. Foggy, if USA gets back on track with global warming, no other country will trust that the USA will keep on track again. But we started it, the whole thing. Now I feel like a fugitive for loving nature. Never feel that way, honey. We love nature, and I know that to get any other country, I mean, literally The Hague, there are people talking about prosecuting Trump for all of the Venezuela fishing boats they blew up, and bringing them to task in The Hague, if that could ever happen. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else. Linda up and goes back to, boy, these were, whoa. Okay. I can tell you no one outside the US believes any numbers, statistics, or data they put out anymore. And I think that's she's from Canada. It could be from the employment stuff you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and I think only 66%. I only think 66% of America doesn't believe the statistics either. Only the Republicans believe what's coming out of this administration.
Okay, I'm just going right down the line. Did you hear talk about the DHS is trying to get names and information of anyone who's criticized ISIS? So, oh yes, we follow Ken Klippenstein, and we're kind of redoing our.
We're very positive our names are on the domestic terrorist.
Oh, I'm sure they are. All right, wait a minute. Now, did I just wreck it? Now I can't get any more comments. Did I just make them too low? Beckwith. Oh, here, let me just make it a bit big. Beckwith warning us ahead of very possible. Yes, his last video, that one was very good. Very good. And that's Paul. Paul saying 2.0. Here we go. Let's see.
What was Paul saying? We're going to hit 2 degrees?
Yeah, we could hit 2.0. You
know
what?
When?
I don't know. I screwed up something with the ones I had held. All right. Well, Early Love said, "What does Israel know?" I think we covered that. And Obsolete Optics says we don't need a Democratic Party. We need a Communist Party. I think we need a lot. All right. Well, I really want to go back down. I screwed up somehow getting your comments that I kept, but yeah, Beckwith said, is that coming out? Beckwith. He did a good video. I'll try to just go to his page. I think he was talking very, like 2037 or even earlier possibly. Oh, 2029 to 2034. Okay, it's either 2030s. I didn't want to say the exact number that if I didn't remember it off the top of my head. Hello, Latino Mafuni. It's nice to see you here. All right. Well, is there anything else? Sandy keeping busy. Goddamn right. Even when I hurt, let me tell you something. I'm in pain every single day of my life. But what am I going to do? I've accepted it. It's over 20 plus years. I've never stopped. I wear a back brace when I sit. This is whatever. It is what it is. Like I say in the beginning, I'm not a victim. I don't wear the victim. All right, let's see. Tommy, I love you, Tommy. We love Tommy. Humans only care about what's right in front of them. As long as Walmart is still open and Fox News and NASCAR are airing, these zombies will keep supporting billionaire perverts. We can always
there's a lot of truth to that, unfortunately.
I always count on Tommy for prescient issue, comments, always. Let's see. Alex likes Substack from the Climate Crisis Club, which was excellent yesterday. The only reason why I stay on X, although today I have to say we are on X and there are some people watching us there possibly or on Facebook. So that's okay because if we, get a message through, then that's a good thing. China understands soft power. Trump has given that away. That's something you can speak to. You have spoken to it, Antonio. Yeah. And we've done that. And then Make America Green Again. Danish Parliament has been having some great laughs recently. Uncontrollable laughter. We're the greatest after all. Praise to be the OM. All right. Okay, we have come to the flush of the day. Now, it's usually, who would we like to flush? Foggy is asking us to flush Bondi.
That's what I was going to say. Bondi.
All right. Here we go. I had the video set up for the flush, but I don't know if it's going to play. So let's just do the... Okay, we definitely flushed Pam Bondi. Oh my God. And you know what? I just visualized her little stupid face. And another thing lately, I have been visualizing slapping people. I think it must be my age. It's like,
Yeah.
I've earned the right. I'd like to slap Lee Zeldin right in the face, slap Bondi, just a slap right across the face. My God, I think I need another punching bag. I'm literally thinking of getting one of those ones I used to have. Literally, I loved it, so it might make me feel a lot better. All right, so we flushed Bondi. Everybody wanted to flush Bondi, so I guess that's pretty good. Well, of course, we'll do one more. Okay. We'll do the wealthy, the rich. We'll flush the Trump
The Epstein
class. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, one more. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right. Next time I'll make sure I have the flushing video. All right.
Yes.
All right, Antonio, I am going to let you give us the goodbye for the day. It's been a long show, but I loved it, and I really love that I can make these videos now and put them right on without having to take us off. Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you guys all again for tuning in. This was a great and exciting show. We really got to expose the Epstein class, call out Bondi, Zeldin, the Trump administration, and others. Thank you for joining us, making us part of your Sunday morning, and enjoy the rest of your week, folks.
All right. There you go. We love you. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Brett, who is the Discord boss, and we're looking at tuning up the Discord so that we don't have any problems. If I don't know you, you ain't coming in. All right, everybody. I forgot to tell you guys, we're going to do a birthday party for Nadia.